Welcome to The Downside.
Hi.
My name's Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here with my co-host, Russell Daniels.
Hi.
We had a guest earlier canceled today.
Yes.
So we've been here a while.
We've been here a while.
If Russell and I seem testy with each other.
We've been here since 11 a.m.
I got you lunch. I got you a PB&J with 2 helpings of steak on the side. It was the weirdest meal I've ever seen in my life.
But there was a weird menu, and I was like, oh, they put peanut butter and jelly on the menu. That they must be confident in that peanut butter and jelly. So I was curious. And then it said, do you want to add a protein to the side? And I said, sure. What a weird, but they suggested it,
Yeah.
So
you had the meal that
other people clearly would have done it in the
that's
past.
like what Elon Musk's son has for breakfast. A PB&J and 2 helpings of the finest steak.
I only ordered one. I don't know why it came with 2 little things.
Yeah, I have a feeling you ordered 2 based on the price.
Oh.
We're here. Very happy to be joined by our guest today, stand-up comedian Drew Lynch. Welcome.
Hey guys, sorry I canceled earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cancel and then I show up later. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just said, well, we got to take the opportunity as it comes. We'll talk about you in a second. I've been doing a lot of doctor stuff this year. Basically, I thought I was going to get SAG insurance one day.
Yeah.
10 years later, not happening. And I'm like, I can't wait on my acting career to take off to get my health checked out. So I I got my heart, I got a CAT scan. I got checked for nodes, no nodes.
Wait, nodes on the throat?
Nodes on the throat.
Yeah.
I was a singer and I yell a lot on stage to make up for when there's no punchline.
You're so emphatic.
And I know.
You would not hardly know that it's compensating.
and no notes.
Good.
So, but I realized the thing. I have this doctor, Dr. Vinny Boombats. Reference
Plug.
Medicinal?
Plug.
Oh, no,
Dangerfield.
I don't,
That's
gotcha.
a Rodney Dangerfield joke.
Yeah, it sounded silly.
My doctor, Dr. Vinny
Didn't
Boombats.
sound. Yeah.
I don't like him, and I realized what it is that he doesn't seem to have the objective in his mind for me to stay alive. So, for example, I got this heart CAT scan. They said one of my arteries had a tiny bit of clogging. Nothing unusual. But so he tells me that. He says, so we did the CAT scan, so one of your arteries has a little bit of a clog.
Yeah.
And then he stops speaking. And I have to be like, okay, so what could we do about that?
Yeah.
He's like, doesn't want to be prescriptive. He's like my therapist in that way. Like he just wants to talk about the thing. And I'm like, no, I need you to be prescriptive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I go, oh, is there any way to fix it? He goes,
Well, now that you ask.
you could take this. Not everyone does, but you could. And I go, ugh.
Just give me a recommendation.
Yeah, give me a recommendation.
Yeah.
And then I say, so is it a coin flip? He goes, well, it's not a coin flip. And I go, then what is it?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a long haul. He says I could take Lipitor.
You could do a lot
heard
of
of
things.
that.
I don't like a doctor that gives you too many options. It
Yeah.
should be a very binary thing. Here's what you do, and here's what you don't do. Here's what you do if you want to die. Here's what you want to do if you want to come back. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't need like, well, you could do this. You could go for a walk. You could do this.
Yeah.
I need to know what's the best. Give me the best right now.
Yes. Yeah. You say, this is what I'm recommending you should do. Some people do this, but here's why I don't think you should do this.
Yeah.
Some sort of like, you got like have an opinion. on
I
it.
could go through all this. Well, I could
Yeah.
do this. I could do this.
Yeah.
I could do peanut butter and jelly and steak. I could do this.
Sometimes
ridiculous.
I feel like the language feels like they're talking in a way where they cannot get sued. Where I just feel like that's why they're scared to go like,
does
do
feel
this.
like
that. Yeah.
Because if
You'll live
I do it
forever.
and I die,
Yeah.
then I could sue them.
Yeah.
But if they just go like
post-mortem sue, that's the best kind.
postmortem sue.
You don't even have to be there.
Yeah.
You have representatives.
Just tell
The
them
picture
no
of the gravestone.
No one's going to sue on your behalf. There's no one that would do that. You know.
I would go. I would not on your behalf. I'd be in like the. It's like one of those ones where you watch where there's like a smattering. There's like a guy asleep, and then there's like someone who came from the bus, and you're like, you're studying law. And I would be like next to those guys.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
With just me in general?
Yeah,
If I
but
die?
also if
So
you
you-
die. But no, I want to see what happens with you if you don't die too. But I want to see what happens with you if you die, and how a post-mortem sue goes. You know,
Are you doing it? Did you do anything?
So he basically was like the Lipitor.
How was Lipitor? Yeah.
He said it can cost like $400 a month. And then he basically I was like, well, how would it help? He said basically I'd be starting it earlier than normal if I wanted to. And he
Start it.
and but he was like, let's say, and these were random numbers he's just throwing around. He goes, let's say you have a 5% chance of having a heart attack.
I don't like
You
how
take the
hypothetical
Lipitor
this is.
now, you have a 4.97% chance. So you could take it, but maybe it's not that much.
You gotta
Yeah,
get a
you
new
round
doctor.
up to the
Get
same
a new
result.
doctor. This
Yeah.
guy's a nightmare.
Get a new artery too.
Yeah, I think that's where this is going.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to avoid. But I think part of it is that it's like talking around the fact that I'm going to basically sometimes I want to be like, so doctor, are you telling me that someday I will die?
Yeah.
Like part of it is we have to eventually, you get to an age, I imagine, where it's like, okay, so death, it's happening.
Yeah.
What's the goal here? Happiness? Put this as far away as possible, which for me, I think that's what I want.
It's like when you talk to like your banking consultant a little bit, where they're just like, what's medium risk? Like, are you what are your priorities with this? Are you trying to ride trends, or are you trying to take some chances on an unstable market?
Yeah.
Am I talking to number? Do you guys not have? Am I?
We don't have.
I don't have money, but I
we
have the
don't have banking
consultants.
consultants. I don't want to speak for you. I don't. But
I know now I do.
oh, okay, interesting.
I don't.
That's the
I don't
guy
have.
sending
I
you
don't.
the Patreon money.
I don't want to send out that. Yeah. I don't want to put out there that I have money. That's not it. I just
Yeah.
mean like I got the consultants just like waiting, but it's Wells Fargo, but it's not. It's like the standard, like when you say like you have a right to an attorney, it's like that.
Yeah,
Wells Fargo keeps getting in trouble. No.
they all get in trouble.
What?
Yeah, but Wells Fargo feels like
tell me a good
insanely.
bank. Give
Can
me
you-
a good bank? Tell me a good bank, Gianmarco.
Can you cancel a bank?
I don't think so. They're too big to fail.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah.
smaller banks are getting eaten up by the bigger
Famously.
banks.
Oh.
I listen to these podcasts, and if you give me a test on them, I'd fail them. But I know Silicon Valley was a bank. There was a bank rush that everyone takes out their money all at once.
Right.
The bank's going to collapse, and the bigger banks come in and they swallow it up.
Yeah.
And they don't have it. They never have it.
Yeah. But Wells Fargo, you hear about a lot.
Yeah, I guess
Elizabeth
that's
Warren,
What do
true.
you have?
I recently switched to Chase. What
Good
do you
for
have?
That's
I have
fancy.
Bank of America.
Fancy. Chase is so
Yeah, my
fancy.
account was like Bank of America's the worst. We got to get you out of Bank
Yeah,
of
Bank
America.
of America. That's like the Plaza Hotel of banks.
Yeah.
It's just the floors are dirty.
They don't
and
have
like
the pens.
none of the outlets
No,
work.
no.
It's
If
very
there's one
weird.
person in line in front of you, it's going to be an hour before you see that.
Yeah, there's like a guy who's typing, but there's no monitor. And you're like,
Yeah.
what? Bank of America just feels. Maybe that's just. It could just be my projection on America. It has nothing to do with the bank, I guess.
That's true.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's true. That's a big branding
Yeah,
thing.
Bank of America.
That's like
Yeah,
the
it sounds
Third
bad.
Reich bank.
Yeah. If it
And
was
at
like
the
Bank of-
beginning, it does really well, and then they go, yeah, this name's got to change.
Yeah.
I'm amazed we haven't changed the name of America after all the shit that's been done.
Yeah.
We need a rebrand.
Bank of Dubai, I would go to for sure. Bank of Dubai is
Just because I
nice.
don't know about all the crimes that Dubai has.
Yeah, they got misters in the when you walk in. But did you end up taking the Lipitor, or where are you at? Where are you settled with this?
No, I think I'm going to.
You're gonna do nothing until it becomes an issue.
I think you're giving off energy to your doctor, and that's why
Yeah.
you're wishy-washy.
Yeah.
I do this. It's a horrible habit. It's like a childish habit where I call my dad, and he had the quintuple bypass last year, and he's
Oh,
the
damn.
reason that I am anxious about all this.
Yeah.
And my dad will just be like, "You're fine. You're fine." And something when I was a kid, it resonates. So I go, "I'm fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm fine."
That's all I needed
Who
to hear.
cares what the cat scan?
I think
you don't even like
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So
You should do it though.
he sent me a book. But here's the thing with cholesterol.
He sent you a book?
He's sent me a book how to deal with your cholesterol.
The doctor or your dad?
I blame your
My dad. My dad's way more prescriptive than the doctor.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's like with everything else with science. They're like, eggs. They said it was bad, but it might not be bad. And you go, well, what the fuck am I? Because I asked my doctor. I said, I can't Google this.
Yeah.
Because everything comes up. Every time I tell him I Googled something, he goes, ugh. And I go, well, okay, he's very Jewish. And I try to appeal to him on that. Says there is a horrible part of me as a Jew where I'm like, hey, you give me the real advice? Come on. I know I don't have a yarmulke like you, but tell me the thing. Tell me the thing.
Yeah.
So
Wow, so he had
a quintuple.
quintuple. How many is that?
Five.
5?
Mm-hmm.
So I
You hear a lot
blame
of
your dad.
triple.
Yeah,
Sometimes quadruple.
I have never heard this.
Quintuple is a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, my manager's father had a six tuplet.
Damn.
Oh my.
Sextuplet, I think it's called.
No, it's
Tuple-
Septuplet?
that's 7.
Yeah, no, I know. Septuplet is 7.
Seven.
But
Tuplet.
sextuplet.
Sextuplet, I think, is. I think they got lazy with it. Yeah, 6
I
tub
get so
lip.
jealous of people like Joe Rogan. They get to go, "What is it?" And then their producer goes to a laptop and they figure it out.
So 6 bypasses your manager, and then 5 from your dad.
5. I don't know how high it can go. I thought quadruple was all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they took a vein from his leg and put it into his heart.
Wow. Leg. Wow.
Yeah.
Leg vein, heart. That's so. I mean, that's cool, right?
Yeah, it's very scary.
Science is pretty amazing, but also science sounds very like.
Trial and error.
Yeah, just very
How'd they
like.
figure that out?
Why from your leg? Who thought of this?
Well, they didn't think of it first. I promise they tried the elbow first and the guy exploded
Yeah.
in the operating room.
Oh, yeah.
And then they got to like, I think, that Steve Jobs, one of the reasons Steve Jobs died was he did not want to get opened up.
Oh, really?
And so he really was like, I'm going to take care of it. And by the time, he tried eating all fruits for a year.
Yeah.
Because his dad sent him a book that said, eat all fruits instead of take the fucking Lipitor.
Yeah.
And then they realized it was too late.
So you blame your dad for all of this?
Oh, this and more. This is the downside.
1, 2, 3. Downside. You're listening to The Downside.
The downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.
Well, this is the downside. If this is your first time listening, it might be. This is a place where we get negative, we complain, we don't need to be thankful. We can blame everything on our Father if we want to, and no one can tell us it's time to grow up. If you're a fan, join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. Bonus episodes, live episodes, my clean comedy special, The Rats Are In Me. A lot of fun stuff. Drew.
How was it doing clean?
I really did it for SiriusXM plays. So I just went through my document of jokes, took all the clean shit, slapped it together. It was by track. I wasn't trying to make an hour clean.
I see.
It's not who I am. I'm a speaking. I mean, I've certainly submitted for America's Got Talent a couple times, and it's always like the restrictions are immense.
Yeah.
You can't, it's not just, they don't want, I was a theater kid. They don't want anything involving theater, acting, brands, dirty, dark, mean.
Yeah.
When you first did it, did you have enough ready? Were you nervous about running out?
No, because I guess I just never thought about it. I never thought like I was already doing colleges at that time. So for colleges it's like 45. But when you do clean, you do have to start peeling back some layers, and you have to start like editing down. You're like, all right, I thought that was clean, but I guess it's not as clean.
Yeah.
And then you go, all right, well, I thought that was clean, and I guess it's not that clean. So then all of a sudden your hour or your 45 goes, and it goes down to like 20. And then you're like, oh boy, I'm getting kind of, neck deep in what I thought was going to be submittable.
Or even if I have it, it's like the best stuff. My best stuff from my heart and my soul is not.
Yeah, of course. And all of a sudden what constitutes as not is you can't say damn it there, or you can't say God damn it there. And it's like, yeah, but my biggest laugh is on God damn it.
Yeah.
What if it's a character where I'm saying God damn it, and for that part, you know what I mean? And I'm not someone who's like, thinking consciously like, I'm taking the Lord's name in vain. It's just, it's for, I think God will be fine with servicing the joke the best way you can. But when I did AGT, they were like, I never thought about how much time I had to submit or how much I was always just about like, if I get to the next round, that'll be cool. And then I got to the end, like the very, very end. And then I was like, I want to win.
Yeah.
And then,
Sure.
Yeah.
There's
Like
that
when you-
shift
when you
of like,
get
I'm
there,
so
you're
glad to be here to, oh my God, I
yeah.
can see it.
Yeah. You start to look at people in the competition. You're like, I could take you out. Yeah.
When you applied, how old were you when you applied?
I was 23. I just did like the open casting call. I was 20.
So you only into
23.
stand up 3 years, if I got that correct?
Wow.
Yeah, I now realize, just in hindsight, how lucky that was. Like so many so many stand-up peers of mine. They're just like, yeah, I didn't get on TV till 5 or 7 years or whatever. I know there were other comics on the show who they've been doing it for a long time. So
Yeah.
but I think like that was it wasn't like I just like kind of lucked into it. I busted my ass as well. The year before that I did 2 years before that I did 101 different stages. I just wanted to perform different places.
Yeah.
And then the next year I was all about setting quantitative goals for myself. So I ended up doing 500 sets. I set 500 as my goal, and I did like 590. So I went up like every night 2 or 3 times. And it was like Samuel Bade level of like just silly stuff.
Samuel
Just
Bade.
getting comfortable in every environment.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Tony Baker, and Tony Baker was like, I got on TV after I did 500 shows, and it's almost more of like a byproduct. It's not like a logical step. Like, oh, I did 500 sets. Where's my TV appearance? It's not how that works. It's just getting so comfortable in every environment. That's how. I think it was just a byproduct of it.
Were you born in Los Angeles?
No. I was born in Indiana, and then I lived in Vegas for about 10 years or so.
How was that? I only did 1 week in Vegas. Almost ended my relationship. It was so brutal.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
bad.
it was both of us. It brought out
were you
the
both
worst.
there, or you were in different
I was doing. She came. I was doing the Comedy Cellar Vegas room, which were good shows, but every part of Vegas felt like it was trying to scam me.
There's a sadness to Vegas.
There's a sadness.
Yeah, nobody's talking about
Kind
it.
of cooked in there.
Yeah.
But
I was in like, but it's also like I could be saying like, yeah, I went to New York. I was in Times Square for a week. That place sucks. So many
for
Elmos.
for sure.
There's too many Elmos in New York.
But it is like, it doesn't feel like a place where even if you spent like a week, you would naturally find yourself, I don't know, going out to the desert. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like I don't know what else is really there. Like, no
You
offense
do
to
go
Vegas,
to
Go to
but
the
you're
desert
like,
this
desert.
weekend.
like, I don't know. I'm sure there are things to find.
I went
that-
to an NFT music artist celebration, and I was like, wow, this is the last thing I want to do on every level.
Yeah.
I see Vegas differently than every other comedian or every
Yeah.
other person. The allure of it is taken out of it for me, but it's also where I spent a big part of my life. So I have just like a different appreciation for it.
Were you going to casinos as a kid?
Yeah, because all the like in the casinos, there are all these things that are kid appropriate. Like they've got like bowling alleys and movies and stuff, but you have to go through the casino in order to get to it. So it's like you have to like dodge like oxygen tank cords. Like you got to do all kinds of just
That's your
silly
version of
stuff.
Chuck E. Cheese instead of going through a ropes course. It's like, here comes this motorized scooter.
Yeah, it never hit it. Yeah,
You're getting on a skateboard, just going behind someone at 3 miles per hour.
I mean, yeah. So you have to go through, like, if you want to meet up with your friends and you want to do bowling, or you want to do, the movies, or you want to do like roller rink, whatever. Like they have those in the casinos. So, and they even
Is
have
it
like
for
daycares.
kids, or is
Yeah. And they even have like, I mean, it's not necessarily for kids, but it's just like, if you can't just like go to a bowling alley in Vegas. They're all in casinos.
all
Yeah,
casino.
you can't, and you could go to the movies in theory, but most of them are in casinos, and they do that for a reason. I mean, and they have daycares that are also at these casinos as well. So like parents can just drop you off at these daycares in the casinos
That's a
and then
sad
go gamble.
daycare.
Did you see people growing up? Were there people in your life that you were like, oh, they're gambling at? Like, is that a big thing in for people there?
Yeah, my parents ran a air conditioning company out there, and there were employees who either wives had to come, their significant others had to come in to collect their check, or they would ask their check to be mailed. Like they couldn't get their physical check from my parents or my parents' boss, so they had to have it mailed. Some employees, they would ask for half of their check in cash, and I think there's a thing. Yeah, I think there's a thing where that's why you can go anywhere. You can go cash your
too
check.
much.
You can cash your check at the casinos. You can cash your check. You can take your check
not good.
from FedEx and go to the thing. And go here.
Here,
like
casino.
this. There you go.
They should test if you're a parent there, like as a little like sting operation, like at the daycare. They go like, you could give us the kid for $500 bucks and chips, and then if you say yes, they take the kid away, and everything works out. But is that? I mean. Does that sadness permeate the air of Vegas?
Yeah.
That there's a lot of addicts there?
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad, but it's just like it's
It's like growing up in a bar or something.
yeah, it's just a big bar.
I mean, it is to a
Yeah.
degree. Every casino, every kids, Chuck E. Cheese, they're not serving alcohol, I don't think.
Yeah.
But a casino,
Yeah.
they are.
Well, Chuck E. Cheese, they got like knockoffs of Chuck E. Cheese out there where it's like,
Yeah.
it's like the Pinkies or whatever, and it's like they serve alcohol for sure. Alcohol, and it's all about gambling. Like so much of their thing is funded by tourism, and by tourism that usually gets translated into like gambling. That's
Yeah.
where, like it's like that's why the comedy shows in Vegas are only an hour long. No show is allowed to be longer than an hour and a half. Like I know that there's like at least like the like
I'm
like,
fine with that rule, by the way.
Yeah,
for a
me
comedy
too.
show.
Yeah, me too. Dear God, dude.
Yeah. That rule can stay everywhere.
Vegas just
No
gave us
show-
one big light.
Yeah.
God, yeah. I mean, in magic shows, they're that way. They're all an hour, so that they're designed to get everybody back into the casinos because so much. I can't even remember the percentage, but so much of that city and where its income is.
Hey, but
coming
you
from.
feel it in the shows. Like I like Magic, and I was excited to see Magic, and they were just some of the least inspired shows.
Yeah.
They were so in and out. So like this has to appeal to people who can't speak English and 4-year-olds
Yeah.
and people about to die mid-show.
Yeah,
I saw a topless review of, but they were vampires when I was there. I think it was called Bear or something like that, but maybe not. But they were vampires, but they were topless. And it was something.
What did they do?
I don't know what I
Was that
expected.
it?
yeah.
They showed their
Yeah.
teeth and their titties and got out of there?
I mean, there was high class a little bit. There was not like it was not that. Honestly, I think we thought there was gonna be more, but but they had some.
How could
production
there be
value.
more? They took everything.
I don't know.
Vampires,
But
boobs.
again, it was this thing of like you're sat there being like, I don't know what I thought I wanted out of this, but I wanted something either like more like a strip show or higher, like more like they want to be like it's a good production. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was neither really of those things.
How old were you when you went for this?
I was gonna make a joke. No, I was 21, 22.
I feel in Vegas just the like, we're here to make money. Everyone, we're here to make money and get out what we can.
Yeah.
And I felt it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's something about going to the Starbucks and the latte was $9 and then the Wi-Fi cost money. And I just said, fuck you guys. Oh, the omelet was $35 and it was the worst omelet I've ever tasted in my life.
See, I feel similar. Not we're here to make money, but when like sometimes when you go to like when I go to LA, I have the feeling of like we're all here trying to like
yeah.
do showbiz sometimes. And you're in a coffee shop and you see people and they're on their computers and you're in a hotel lobby and you see business meetings happen. And the only thing I'm like, that's better to me than like the Vegas feeling of the sadness and blah, blah, blah. But there is also something that makes me be like, oh, what I like about New York is that people are doing all sorts of things that are unrelated to what I do. And that makes me feel more anonymous than feeling like you're competing or you're, I don't know how to describe it.
No. Los Angeles feels like.
But I'm also going to the very like, oh, if I'm going there, I'm staying in a hotel and blah, blah, blah. I'm not like living in a residential neighborhood in LA,
Yeah, Los Angeles, it feels like they're extras in their own, like they're doing background work version of. Do you know what I'm saying? Like where it's loud
You
tapping
go to every
on
laptop
the thing.
screen, it's empty.
Yeah. And like the conversations that they're having is like they're.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to
go
talk.
closer like
Yeah.
watermelon.
Yeah, exactly. Like from far away, it's like, oh, and I'm doing a pitch with MGM, and then you come in closer, and it's like, yeah, watermelon.
I had
so funny.
a friend who moved to LA, and the first thing they told me, they called and they said, I just took a shit in Steven Spielberg's house. And to me, that encapsulated what LA was like, you were so close to this great piece of art, but all you're doing is taking a shit.
Yeah.
And that's how I view.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've shit on both your homes, basically.
That's fine. I
Well,
lived in
I
Indiana.
still like LA.
But was Vegas? Was it like? Did you get any crazy adventures? I mean, it's kind of a place that a kid could wind up seeing a vampire topless at 8.
Yeah. I think I was pretty desensitized by the time I was like 14 or 15 by, just by it. Like they got billboards with like naked ladies and just, there's things that when you get there as like a 9-year-old, it's like I remember when I lost my virginity the girl was like obviously the girl got naked, and I was like, yeah, but
Good start.
but who are you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're like, I've seen the billboards. I know
Yeah,
the clothes
yeah.
have to come off.
Well, I was just like, I was like, this is nice, but who are you? You know,
Yeah.
I've seen nudity. This does nothing.
Yeah.
Did you do comedy there at all, or no?
No,
After you
no,
left?
no. I started comedy in Los Angeles, and I never wanted to do comedy. I was similar to Gianmarco. I did theater and acting, and that was my whole thing.
In
Like,
high school, you were a theater kid?
Yeah. Middle school and high school, I went to performing arts schools.
Were they good in Vegas?
Yeah,
Were they?
yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. It was.
What were some of your roles? Big roles?
I did. We did Sweeney Todd. We did
you in Sweeney
West
Todd?
Side. Oh, I wasn't in Sweeney, but
Oh.
our school did it. But for some of the roles we did. I was Riff in West Side Story. I hate West Side Story. Sorry, I know that's controversial to say.
What about it?
I don't like music that goes outside the key. It's like we pick a key for a reason. Why are you going outside of it? It's so
Traditionalist.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like alt comedy where it's like, all right, yeah, but you can only do that occasionally do that. But Leonard Bernstein's like, what if the whole song is that? And you're like, that's the most like, why do we have the key then? Why do we have a score? What's the difference between why you wrote something and how I could? Anyway, so I was
Leonard Bernstein.
So I did. Well, let's see. We did Riff. I did Miss Saigon. I was like an army dude. Yeah, we
Okay.
did. But these are all the musicals. We did like Dearly Departed. We did Spitfire Grill. We did Cats. God, I hated Cats.
I
too.
hate Cats.
You
I'll
thought
give you Cats.
you think I hated
Well,
Leonard
you guys
Bernstein?
must
I
have
hate
some
T.S.
budgets
Eliot
for
and
Cats and Miss Saigon.
Andrew.
Did you have a helicopter?
yeah,
coming
we
in?
did. Yeah, we did.
Wow.
They
Was
actually
it-
they had sets from New York that they
touring or like the-
bust
wow.
in to come do some
Jesus
of this.
Christ,
Yeah, it was big.
wow.
They had a PAC that was 1,300, and then a newer theater that was like it sat 800.
1,300 for high school theater?
How big was your high school?
I don't remember how many kids,
Yeah.
but it was all performing arts. Like everybody, like
Holy
people had to
shit.
like
That's
audition.
insane.
Yeah, people had to like
Yeah.
audition to get in and shit like that. And then obviously we did some Shakespeare stuff. It's so weird that like there's all these mainstream shows are the ones that are coming to mind. But we did Edward Albee plays. We did Martin McDonough stuff.
Did you do an Edward Albee play?
Yeah, we did
Which
Virginia.
one? Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Were you the
were
younger
you
guy
Nick?
or the...
I wasn't like I stage managed that one.
Oh,
But
yeah?
like they have you do when you're a freshman, they have you like stage manage a show. Like you
Yeah.
can't just get into a show. You have to
Sure.
like stage manage and humble yourself, or not even stage manage, but tech a show. So, but I was like, I mean, that was like for me. I did summer school. I did PE. So I did PE during the summertime, so I could take additional like classes, like different like minor in something else. So I didn't have to take PE during that actual school year. And when I took summer school for PE, I just read Neil Simon plays. Like I literally was just flipping through
Yeah.
the shit. Like I love plays. Like
I
honestly,
love reading plays.
yeah.
I kind of fell off it, but there was a time that I read plays. It was kind of a lot of money to pay $10, and then you read it in
And then
an
be
hour.
like, you're not gonna read it again.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but like I love that. Like I love like Neil LaBute. Like I love
Dream
I just,
play role. What's dream play role?
I did it. We did the Pillow Man.
Oh, yeah.
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 And, fuck, I can't remember.
We
the
did an
kid's
exercise and
name.
acting class for the Pillman. We recorded the lines, and then we had to act it out, lip syncing to the lines that we recorded.
God.
Yeah.
One of those exercises where it's like, hey, let's just do this.
Yeah.
Maybe this does something to you.
And I don't particularly enjoy the vanity of theater or the vanity of acting. Like I'm very introverted, and I think like theater kids are very like they're obviously they're over the top, but the writing component, the performance component, like I enjoyed all of that. And so like stand up was always something that was like in the periphery, and I enjoyed it, but it was never something that I wanted to do or wanted to pursue. I when I moved out to LA, I was on a softball team, and I had a injury because of that, and that fucked with my motor skills.
So when you moved to Los Angeles, you went to college?
No, I knocked out my first year of college in high school, so I could take a year off in LA. I was like, I'll do all these AP classes in high school, so I don't have to go to college for 1 year. Show my parents that I'll move out when I'm 18, and I'll see what I can do in a year. And then in the year that I was there, I had a manager, I had an agent, and I was getting callbacks and booking stuff with like Disney and shit like that.
Was that because of the high school, the pedigree of the high school, or how did you get in front of all these people?
No, that had nothing to do with it. The high school was just, I don't think that carried as far as like any merit or any credibility.
Yeah.
I just think you just get your foundation through that.
And so you're doing baseball as just a
softball.
softball.
It was a softball league that I worked at a comedy club out there in LA.
Flappers.
They had a pickup softball team that they did every week. I worked the
I didn't know it
door
was
there.
the Flappers team.
I worked the door there, and they, it was just like it was a perfect job because it was like I have my days free to audition, do gigs, and then at night I just get to be around comics. You know, it's like I get to be around funny. It's like next to it. You know what I mean?
Who are the older legends stopping by at that time? Was Jay Leno still going there then?
Jay Leno wasn't quite there yet, but they had like. I'm trying to think. Like they had like Jimmy Dore. They had a lot of They had Paul Reiser stopping in quite a bit. I'm trying to think who else was in the Burbank area that would kind of just drop down. But it was a lot of like it was starting up. It's not like it wasn't like super established. And when I started working there, it was like just a few months after it opened. So it was just kind of.
But you were acting. You were acting, and you just did that because it was part of.
Yeah, I just did it. I saw the night job. I was like, it's a perfect night job, and like, there's comics around. I did stand up 2 times before my injury, and I bombed terribly. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know like what to really do, and so it just didn't really go well. And I think like something that stand up is like making fun. You know, we make fun of ourselves, or we at least find a way to like humanize ourselves in doing it. And I think that part was missing for me when I first tried it.
So when the injury happened, you were 20, and what was your thought process? Would you mind just what happened exactly?
Yeah. So I had a grounder hit me in the throat. I was playing shortstop, and it took a bad hop. And what's crazy about softball is like you're set up to succeed when it comes to you to bat. Like we underhand it to each other.
Yeah.
At like such a it's point blank range that we're just handing. It's like I might as well just hold my hand and have you hit it off my hand, you know. And it's bright, it's yellow, it's bigger. You can't miss it. And you know, it hit me in the throat, and I fell and I hit my head. I initially thought that, and so did the doctors, thought that by me having a vocal contusion that was something that messed with my speech. But it was actually by me hitting my head, I had a traumatic brain injury, and I never healed it.
Two things that happened. First, this hit, and a vocal contusion.
Vocal contusion. Yeah,
what does that mean?
It's just bruising. It's just bruising on your. I got hit here.
Yeah.
And then I fell and I hit my head, but I fell backwards, so my head snapped and hit the ground.
Oh.
And
so,
you didn't go to the hospital.
No,
not that night
at all. Or
yeah. I was. But here's the thing: is like I don't remember the rest of that day. I don't remember the injury itself. I don't remember I don't remember that day. I just remember being in the hospital at some point, and I know
but it wasn't.
that
You said it wasn't that day.
No,
so
I went home.
You went home.
I went home.
Did people say that you said, "Hey, I'm fine"?
No, people said that I was just a little bit spacey. That's what they told me the next week. They were just like you're a little out of it. Sorry, I almost made a Kevin Spacey joke. So glad I didn't. But they said I was
you driving down the wrong
yeah.
5 guys.
Yeah,
on the way
it
back
was
to the
crazy,
car.
dude. Softball is wild. No, I did. They said that I wasn't quite myself, but I was still like functional, and so I drove myself home, and I went home. I went to sleep that night, and then I woke up the next day, and everything was off. And again, this is all accounts of what has been told to me. I don't remember the next morning. I don't remember the injury.
But eventually, you make it your way to the hospital that day.
My roommate drove me to the hospital the next day.
Fucking A.
Yeah. He was. He was pretty shaken up about it. As he told me. I mean, he was calling my mom, and like it was a whole thing. Then my mom flew out from Vegas.
Were you friends with your roommate, or was it like okay?
Yeah.
Because I've had a roommate situation where like
it would not be ideal if they had to.
Well, I told you it was. I came home one night and my roommate was like. I thought he was asleep on the couch, and he drank, so I thought he was just asleep but sitting. And they got up. He's like, boom, and I. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Do you want help?" And he's like, And I have no idea what it was, but all of a sudden I called 911. 10 police officers came. I'm reenacting what he said to me for all of them. And they asked him 1,000 times, do you do any drugs? I think looking back, he was on shrooms or something. He was on some kind of hallucinogen. But the next day he swore to me to the day he moved out that he wasn't on
nothing
anything.
happened.
And that nothing had happened.
Yeah.
Was it like sleep talking?
Yeah.
It's what
But my girlfriend has night terrors. Like there was nothing. He seemed wide awake, and as if he had a
But there
stroke
was
or all
no
that came
throw
out.
up in his mouth.
No throw up in his mouth, and he actually just won America's Got Talent. He's an incredible stand-up comedian, but
I had a roommate one time that, again, not friends with. So,
Yeah.
And they had gone to the hospital because they had the flu and it had been bad enough that and they called and they were like, you haven't checked in on me at all about this. And I was like, I'm not your friend. Like, I was like, it was one of those things where I was like, I knew that they had gone to the hospital.
yeah.
But then I was like, I made sure that they could get to the hospital. I was like, I felt like I was done. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But it was like, it hurt their feelings that I hadn't checked in and
Sure.
I think they were wrong still because we don't talk anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, I wasn't like I was like they were like desperate for a ride and I didn't give them one. It was a weird situation where they wanted.
How long were
more.
you roommates?
A year. Like it was in college. It was like
That's a pretty long time.
but it was multiple roommates. It was a house with like a lot of roommates. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just me and this other person. It was multiple. There was like 6 or 7 of us. So it was a little like, but I was the reliable kind of responsible. Like, do you
roommates
know what
are a confusing thing.
I mean? Yeah, no,
It's
it
an
is.
emotionally confusing
It
thing.
is. It is.
I'm the responsible one, so I can't.
Yes,
it's not a good thing. If you're the responsible one, you're in trouble. You're at
Your
the
shit's
it's
together.
it's everything. Well, you'll deal with it. You'll deal with it, and I can't handle that. It's too much responsibility. It's injustice. I can't deal with that. You deal with your like dishes. I made a thing. I'm organized enough to be like, I'm Mondays, you're Tuesdays, and follow the thing. And they're like, yeah, well. So that's the problem. My wife she's the best roommate I've ever had. And when I think that's the thing is when you find someone who's able to be I'll marry a dude. I don't give a shit. It's like like if you're accountable, I love that.
Yeah.
I don't care, man.
My girlfriend has made me a much better living partner,
So
but
much
I'm
better.
worried that I've made her worse.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Her tolerance for messiness. There was just one of those days where I looked at her and I was like, this place is filthy. It's all of her shit now. Oh no, what did I do?
Wow.
I made her comfortable with mess.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You just break the walls down, or you don't have to break the walls down. The trash will build up, and you just climb the trash over the wall, and then there's no wall.
Right now, my biggest issue, we have a trash can. It's not a good trash can. I need to buy a new one. We'll never buy a new one.
Yeah.
It's tough to get the bag in, and you got to kind of pinch it. You got to pinch the bag for when you put in, they have the little container within the bigger container.
Yeah.
You got to pinch the bag. That's the only way to keep the bag to get the holding.
Yeah. No, I know. What you mean.
And she can't do it. She can't do it.
Why don't you?
Every
just
time
make that
she does
your-
the
Why
bag,
don't you
you
just
mean-
make that your thing?
because once in a while, you got to do the other person's thing.
Yeah.
Once
guess
in a
that's
while,
true.
you got to do the other thing.
Yeah.
And then she says I can't do it, and that's where that's where I struggle. I go,
Yeah.
yes, you can.
Wait, what do you mean pinch the bag? I just want to understand.
The only way to get the bag to not just fall into the
You have to like pinch it in that little hole.
no, you gotta like tuck it. You gotta tuck the bag
Oh,
around the little
tuck the
container,
bag.
and you gotta do it fast because if you don't hold it to
Yeah, you
the
gotta
very
put
last
it
second,
down
it gets
quickly.
loose.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay, the tuck I understand now.
And then I throw away a piece of paper, it collapses inside of itself.
Yeah.
And she goes, I can't. I go, I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what to say that without starting a fight.
Well, get a
she
new.
fit in the
Okay,
trash
if it
can?
bothers you that much, then get a new fucking garbage can.
Or a new girlfriend. Either one, man.
Yeah.
No.
Which one you love more? Here's the thing. My trash can is also not. It's not regulation. I don't know. The trash bags are not. It's not regulation. I don't know how I got this trash because if you buy the trash bags, they say this is 34 quarts or whatever. It's so funny that they measure it in quarts like we're pouring milk in our bucket. So they have it's like 34 quarts or whatever, and then the trash can, like the lips of the trash can itself, it's always you bring it just far enough, and then it breaks that part break when you want to do the tuck. You know what I mean? A little fitted sheet for your own.
It's never
Trash
big enough.
can?
Same with the sheets. Just make it big. I'm
Make 'em
fine with a little
bit bigger.
I'm-
Make them
yeah, yeah, yeah.
a little bit bigger.
Just a little bit.
100 gallons.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
I'm curious, since this is the downside, when you remember being in the hospital, was your stutter there right away?
Yeah, it was. I have videos of, I think, when I was in the hospital and then shortly after. My speech, I almost can't even recreate it. It's like it wasn't even a stutter. It was just like there was vocal. It's like vocal staccato. It was just. I realize that sounds like stuttering. It was like It was so bad on my vocal. It was so bad. Like when you talk about nodes, immediately I was like, oh, because I've had vocal polyps, and just the misuse of these glottal attacks that I had on my vocal area. It was just constant stress, constant.
When you had the stutter in your brain, is it smooth and then you're just like, it's coming out here?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I've stuttered for so long, and I think the demand of what we do all the time is to say the perfect thing with the exact right intonation and the fewest words possible. And so it's almost like when I'm having a conversation, I'm thinking of two ways to say one thing. So it's almost like trains. It's like I'm on this train, but at any moment that one could succeed. It's just, and so what I miss, genuinely what I miss, is not being present in conversations. And I don't want that to sound like foo-foo-y. It's just
no.
it's like we already all struggle with that anyway. Like things are so busy, you're so like I just this. But for me, it's even more because it's almost like I'm like the person who's in the corner watching the scene.
You're performing.
Yeah, it's like it's like I'm directing more than I'm performing. It's like I'm watching the scene rather than just being in the like, you know what I mean? If we're talking about that as a metaphor, it's like I'm watching it happen. Yeah. So I don't actually get to experience the fullness necessarily of what someone else is saying. And I know, like, I give people credit by listening and paying attention to everything that they say, so I remember details. But at the same time, my brain is just going 100 miles a minute because it's like, well, what happens if you get stuck here? Then you have to be able to come up with a quick detour and another way to be able to say that same thing.
Yeah.
And that's a common tool that a lot of people who stutter use. It's just, it's only been recently through so many remedial therapies that I've been able to articulate it close to the speed at which I think it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it kind of set in that you had this stutter, did you go through the stages of grief and that you thought maybe this will go away?
Yeah.
Maybe this is temporary. When did you go, oh, the career path that I thought I would have, becoming a TV actor, movie star, whatever the dreams were, like, was there a depression point? I mean, you seem like an ambitious person, whether it's coming in with your business. I mean, you are counting your shows. Like game recognized game. And
that's all I want is Gianmarco saying game recognized game.
Yeah.
Or just insanity,
It
recognizing
does.
insanity.
Yeah.
But
It does.
but like, was there a dip, or were you like, okay, now I'm a stand-up comedian? What was that depression, that downtime?
Yeah, I think more than anything, my superpower, if I could advocate for myself, which I rarely do, is my drive.
Yeah.
So when it's the idea that you can only I don't like the term waddle because it has just such a it's not the term it's not something that I do for very long, but for those stages of grief after I got dropped by my manager, dropped by my agent.
Was it right away? Did you go like,
it was,
say
I had
hello and they were like, is that a stutter? Bye.
Yeah, no, it
Oh
wasn't
my
like that. It
God.
wasn't like that, but it was like, it was pretty shortly after, because I had appointments the next week. I had callbacks and final callbacks and like CD meetings, workshops. I had shit like lined up. So it's just, and the momentum of that year was just starting to like, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, it was just, I was just in it, and I was so excited to get to doing more of it. And when it happened and I started to realize that things were like opportunities and all these doors were closing, I think that's why the nature of my injury is so counteractive or so counter believed, I guess is the word I would use. Is like, it's just like, why would someone who stutters go in front of an audience of people and talk? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd think someone who stutters, their biggest thing is speaking in front of a room of people, but that's not something I've been doing my whole life. And so I don't that sometimes has an effect, but it rarely does. It's just, it has everything to do with for me, it was just this figuring out the physiological component and how that damaged the pathways that I needed to use to try and get my like system back up and running for how I connecting my brain to my speech again.
Yeah.
It was just the physiological component of trying to tackle that rather than being like, oh no, I'm in a room full of people. When in actuality, that's where I feel like I'm most comfortable. I think you could probably understand that too.
Sure.
Yeah.
But how long from injury to going it was your first stand-up set?
Maybe a month later.
I mean, that's
Wow,
really
that's
short.
very-
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
very
But
pivoting
yeah, it is.
quickly.
Well, I mean, that's how I can't. I'm so impatient. Like I said, I'm so
Yeah.
impatient. And it's like, I had so many like I worked the door there. I worked the door at at Flappers. So I had so many comics who were like, dude, you got to talk about this. Like, you have to talk about this. And I remember I had written some things on a napkin when I was in the hospital.
That's comics. They're like, oh, I got hit. I'm
Yeah.
stuttering now.
Dude,
that
yeah.
opener's gonna be sick.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't something that I just wasn't super familiar with it. And I remember the first set that I did, it was at an open mic. It was in front of comics, and it wasn't like a good set. Like, it wasn't like, whoa, like, it wasn't a good set, but it was impactful. So it felt like, it wasn't like I impacted them. It was just, it felt like it had meaning. It felt like they understood what was going on. So many comics already heard about what had happened.
Sure.
Who went there. And so they understood, it was just like, I understand the sentiment of what he's saying, even though, he's just making these little,
What was your first joke about it?
The first joke that I had, I think, was when I went to the doctor. I was I was in the waiting room, and there was a guy who said, "Why are you talking that way? Are you retarded or something?" Assholes can be such doctors sometimes. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
And so like but these were all short jokes because word economy is like so important. And that to me is like that's something I'm so thankful for about my injury is it taught me just you have to edit it down to like the final two words, the final word. The last two words, one word can change the whole context of the sentence if you just change it. So, it would be like these little short little like one-liners because my speech was just so
When you felt anxiety, or we had someone on, Benny Feldman, who has Tourette syndrome, and I believe he was talking about when he feels stressed, sometimes it makes his tics happen more frequently. Was there any time in the beginning, like, does anxiety make it worse?
Yeah.
Were there any shows where it was like you were so stressed that, I mean, it just feels like one of those, the more stressed, the more you stutter, the more stressed you are, and it just could like collapse into not saying anything for a minute.
Yeah, and I've had shows where I've had bad shows. Like I've had bad shows where it just I tried. Like I remember there was a show that I did a few years ago, which this was like 2019, and 2019 was sort of like the last year where my speech was starting to get just so much better. The pandemic really helped because we just had so much time to just focus on ourselves, and we all kind of went into our own projects or dived into ourselves. And 2019, I was doing Tacoma. I was doing Spokane. I was doing Spokane, and I was just on a walk with my wife, and I just remember, I don't know what happened, but I just couldn't go on. Like I remember looking over at her. I was just like, I can't talk. I'm just stuttering so much. And I went on stage, both shows that night. It was just it was like 2000. It was like the year was 2019, but it felt like it was like 2013, 2012, like early entry all over again. It was just, it was so humiliating. It was just, and the audience was like understanding, but I could just feel, and I don't know what it was, man. I have no idea what it was. I felt so, and I just get so, like, I'm so controlling. Like, I like to have control. I like to be in control. So the fact that, and a stutter goes against the very nature of that. You know, it's just, it's something that's like, you want so badly to be able to control something, and then by doing that, just like we were talking about, it exacerbates the issue. It makes it more inflammatory. And so that's been the lesson that I've had to learn. Is it sounds cheesy again to say like in letting go, but it's like when the less you almost think about it, the better it is. So it's just this weird sort of it's like this extra dimension to that you have to almost operate in, where it's like you can't think about it too much, but you have to be aware that it's a part of your past.
Yeah, and I imagine it's a unique experience too, because I have a friend who developed stutter like later on in life.
Yeah, it's so rare.
And it's so rare. And also to be like, this wasn't something I had to deal with for so long. Like you're like, so to have to like reorient, like, and you know, and now it's like similar to you, a lot of things to it's barely a thing now, but sometimes it with anxiety, or if you are a little drunk, like it comes out. And so, so it's just such a unique experience to not have it be a thing and then be like, wait, this wasn't a thing. Why is this a thing now? You know, to like,
when was the, Today Junior, what was that from?
That I think
Adam
was
Sandler?
Yeah, I think it's.
Did he have a stutter, or was he just
Billy
nervous
Madison.
in it?
No, I think some kid in the audience in the classroom.
Had a stutter.
Yeah. I just remember a certain age range where like that was a thing people said.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been I've always thought it was probably an interesting challenge for Saturday Night Live when they show Joe Biden and they're trying to comedically make fun of someone.
Yeah.
And I feel like they don't touch the stutter at all. I felt like there just came to some point where people making fun of stuttering or making any jokes about it became
It feels very
totally
90s.
taboo.
It
was
very 90s, the making fun of a stutter or something like that, where you're like,
really, you did it last year.
shut the fuck up. But it is shocking when you watch some of the content from. I was watching Step by Step recently, and it was just shocking things that in the 90s we all were like, we like that, and you're like, it's so mean.
And it wasn't. It was like it was in that
so
same
mean.
area of like it's a man. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was very
Yeah.
whoa.
He's a man.
There was a documentary about trans people in show business, and they show that scene from Ace Ventura.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it's like where he kisses a trans woman, and then has a 3-minute
montage
scene
of
vomiting
just,
and brushing teeth.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow.
And that itself is terrible, but it's almost Family Guy-esque, where it goes on for so long. Where you're like, okay, the thing itself is not funny, but the fact that they committed to that is what's so silly about that.
And what's so funny too is like in the 90s, you're like, it's like asking the audience to identify with like the person that's being mean, and a lot of times it's like again, Step by Step. It's like Suzanne Summers, this beautiful woman. You know, you're like, that's not any of us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Friend.
But it's like in the 90s, the people who were making that TV were like, this is us, and you're like, but it's not us.
Yeah.
Who the fuck do you think you are that it's us?
That's what makes Friends more painful, because they make so many fat jokes, and they're all hot. They're all like thin, hot people.
Well,
You're like, why are you so mean?
The thing I was referencing in the Step by Step, it's literally Suzanne Summers, who's beautiful. She's on a double date with her and her husband. They're both beautiful. And her fat, homely sister, whose only thing is that she's horny and lonely all the time. That's her only thing on the show. They wrote her off after the first season. So she's in the show. She never gets a date. And she's finally gotten a date. And he loves her. He's a nerd. He loves her. And they're just into each other. And they just have questions and they're talking. And they're like, oh, like these two hot people can't stand to be on this double date for
That's
10
terrible.
minutes.
Yeah.
And we're being asked to laugh at all the things. And you're like, what about this? Is so rude.
Yeah.
You're like, they came over to your house for a dinner. Just be fucking polite for 10 minutes. and they're trying to make excuses how to get out of it. And I'm like, your sister never has a date. It's just so
This is
mean.
real thing.
Terrible.
Just like the unusual people are bad.
Yeah.
Where that's like the whole narrative. Where
Yeah.
it's normally the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. And going back to like the Joe Biden thing, like when I hear a Joe Biden, because there's so many Joe Biden jokes right now. I mean, and
Yeah.
I get it. I don't like. It's rare that someone will say a joke about a stutter or someone that they experience who had a stutter. Like I've heard comics tell jokes about a time that they met someone who had a stutter or whatever. To me, if it's funny, it's funny. I don't get upset by it or offended by it. But there is a part of me that almost like, regardless of however you feel about politics or politically, like Joe Biden's had a stutter for years.
Yeah.
And so there's people who don't know that, you know, and there's people who don't know a lot of people who did. And I do, because I pay attention to that thing. And people might not be aware of where people came from, you know, like, you know, Paul Rudd, Ed Sheeran, like these are all people who stuttered, and you would have,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have no idea. And it's like, it makes you more sensitive to. I'm not sensitive in the way of like whatever. Even if a joke's bad, it doesn't like. It's not gonna, you know, whatever. It's not gonna upset me or offend me. But it is just such a thing that's like. I'm just hyper aware of stuff like that, especially with, you know, regardless of how you feel about him politically or how you feel about him cognitively. You know, that's something he battled with for a long time.
Did you have a service dog for a period of your life?
I had her name was Stella. She passed away last year.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. She was a big part of my life. I had a dog in 2000. You know, I got her in 2012, and she we did a show for a really long time where I did weekly vlogs with her, and I would just kind of vlog, and then she would sit next to me in the chair like perfectly still, and she had like captions over her head, and we actually built a lot of our online presence because of her. You know, it was like after America's Got Talent, like you're just done. Like they might teach you how to introduce you to a career, but it's up to you to like sustain it afterwards. You know?
Yeah.
And so I was trying to find a way to like do a thing that I loved, or around something that I loved, while also trying to generate content. And so
what was the service dog for? What did you need a service dog for?
She was trained in respiratory and onset breathing, and I would have a lot of like panic attacks. Basically, I would
after
have,
this thing. Or you?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, after I had to like. I mean, there's a lot of. I didn't go to therapy. I didn't go to like. I didn't go to like any neurologists. I didn't see anybody who really tried to like. I didn't like. It was my fault. I didn't actively try and rehabilitate or deal with any of those feelings and through those stages of grief that I had.
Yeah.
And I felt. When I got Stella, you know, there would be moments where I was in like a crowded place, or I was in an area where I just didn't feel welcome, or I didn't feel like I belong. You know, it wasn't. There's just still feelings that I. There were just feelings that I had that I just weren't addressed, and I would lay down on the ground, and then she would just lay on top of me until I felt better.
Yeah.
And it was either that, or I had to be near a bath.
Near a bath?
Near a bath in order to calm down. And if you're not near a bath.
What do you mean near a bath? Why a bath?
That was the only thing that I had to. That was the only thing that had to calm me.
To take a bath.
Yeah, to take one. Yeah.
As opposed to what? Give a bath? Or
Yeah.
what?
No, I didn't. I just didn't like. But it takes a long time to fill a bath. I mean, you wait.
Yeah.
You're
No,
like,
no,
come
no.
on, let's go with the water.
Well,
No, right away
Do you
when you
yours
get warm.
in right away.
Yeah.
You fill it all the way up and then get in.
You're saying you sit down, you let it.
I let it right.
Oh,
Yeah, I
me
let the
too.
water right
That's how I do a
underneath
bath.
me, dude.
And
Right
also, I
underneath
identify
me.
with the calming thing because when I was panicking before the vaccine, I got COVID in November 2020, and we were freaked out. You're like, oh, like and the thing that I did every day, like for the 2-week period, was I took like 5 or 6 baths a day because I was like, it was something about it that was like calming and like, I don't know, but it is a
Yeah.
As opposed to your regular 4.
yeah. I take a bath a day usually.
Got
Got a great bathtub. That's why. I'm not. There's a lot of bathtubs I wouldn't take a bath in.
Yeah,
but I have a
yeah.
really good tub.
If I'm having a panic attack, I don't care about the tub. I mean, it's just I'll get if the sink's big enough, let me get in there, dude. It's something about just warm water being like it's just about the heaviness of the warmth, just feeling like I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's just putting me in a place of where I can't in a mobilized state. I have no idea, but. Those are the only two things. And I got to a place where, with my panic, with my anxiety, where I was always driving in the right lane on the freeway. I don't know about I always knew about hospitals on my phone, like whichever ones were nearby, and I always drove in the right lane so I could exit at any time to get to the nearest.
And if you went to a hospital and you go, I'm having a panic attack.
Give me a bath.
Oh yeah, I mean, what do you do?
I never went. I know. Well, I did go to. During the pandemic, I went to the hospital. My wife took me to the hospital for something that I thought was for sure a heart attack, but it was just panic attack.
Yeah.
I think we've all probably had some version of that.
Was it
They're so scary. If you've never had them too, like I thankfully something was going on in 2015, but I had 2 that year, and it was terrifying. It's terrifying. It's just your body is reacting and you don't know what's happening, and but yeah, and
Nothing you can
I
do.
got to a place where I could feel them coming on.
Yeah,
and I knew what it was, and then luckily I haven't had one in years, but
yeah, I don't know how mine's gotten a little bit. Mine subsided quite a bit as well.
It was helpful when I knew what it was to be like, oh, you can feel your body going into that thing, and be like, you don't need to go into that thing.
Yeah.
Like it's okay, So
yeah.
Were there any challenges with bringing a service dog around all this touring and traveling?
Yeah, it's a lot. I think it was a lot. But she had been on over 600 flights, something silly. Like she had been everywhere, and she'd been to London. She had been to Canada.
She
She
could
had
tell
been to
like
France.
I'm in the sky, like I've broken the laws of nature, or she's
I don't
just
know.
in a different.
She was just
room.
in a different place. She was just the most. She was like you'd be surprised the things that she could do. She was just a special dog.
Was there any feeling after she passed, like, do you get another service dog, or that was like kind of like you had run its?
I think that was. I think that was kind of the end of that
Yeah.
chapter.
Yeah.
And I think she had a place and she had a role that she served. And my wife is someone who she travels with me all the time. So if something happens, or whatever, or if she's not with me, I have someone else who travels with me. But I think she was there to try and mitigate or maybe have me transition to a place of feeling like I could do this on my own, and still navigating that. But what she did was just I don't know. It's crazy, man. When you talk about animals, you talk about dogs, their ability to know you and to service. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's unlike anything. And I think she came to me at such a time where it was so like it was just us. It was just the two of us. So, and there was a time where I don't stutter when I talk to myself, and you don't stutter when you talk to animals. You talk to animals, it's easy.
Really?
Yeah. Don't know why.
What's the thinking?
No idea. I don't know if it's a comfortability. I don't know if it's just the absence of judgment.
Yeah.
There's just something. There's something so like it is unencumbered, unconditional acceptance, no matter what, and that is such a sacred space and it's the opposite of what we get as comics or performers or even as human beings.
Yeah.
So, in another way, she helped with that. Like I would talk out loud to her, and it would just be so. It's just the idea that you can just go through all of this, and you got no judgment, no matter what it is that you're saying. Any person you've ever met who stutters, you can ask them if they have a dog. They don't when they talk to themselves, when they talk to their pets, they don't.
You know how they say it when you're on stage? Pretend the whole audience is in their underwear to make your nerves go away.
Yeah,
you could pretend the whole audience is dogs.
It's dogs. In underwear?
Just imagine
Sexy
them all as dogs. Now I want a dog. Run some material by my dog.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't even just like it wasn't even just necessarily material. It was just, sometimes it was that. I mean, sometimes it's standing in front of the mirror and trying a thing, but a lot of times it was just it's just silent understanding. And I've told people this who I work with. I told this to my wife. Like my love language, and you guys might agree with as stand-ups, but they talk about like the 5 love languages or whatever:
Yeah.
gifts, acts of service, physical touch, quality time, and words of affirmation. Right? Some version of ours is probably words of affirmation. We enjoy feeling like validated by whatever it is that we say or do. However, I think there's a 6th one, and I think it's mine, and I think it's communication. That's what I think it is. If I can communicate with someone and they understand, they understand me, and vice versa, that is the ultimate form. And you don't even have to tell me. It doesn't have to be in the form of praise. It's literally just I'm communicating an idea to me, and I'm communicating an idea to you, and you understand it, or you're contributing to it. You listen to it. That fills my love cup. And so when we're on stage and we convey an idea, or we wrote a thing, and then we edited and we fucking performed it, and we wrote it and rewrote it and fucking and tried it, and then we execute it, and then it's completely understood, or you get the sense that they understand you better because of that thing you just said. It's the best.
Yeah.
And it's not praise. It's just, and like even something that I'm doing right now, like I'm explaining more about me in a vulnerable way to you guys, and I get the sense that you're both listening to me, and that makes me have a deeper appreciation for you guys. So it's not even such a selfish way of feeling a love language. There's a relationship to it. There's a contribution on 2 parties.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I was missing for so many years with stuttering, is like I couldn't even make eye contact with people because I would stutter for so long, and then they get uncomfortable. Like they get, what I mean? You stutter for so long. It's like I have 2 reactions now. Like I had to. One reaction was I would stutter for so long that people, they do busy work. Like they get, they start they look through mail, they check their watch, they get like
They
they
do the
turn
dishes,
into they just do stuff. Like they turn into like these little meth. Like that's crazy. They start looking around for people. And now, because I don't stutter, and for so long that was such a big part of my identity, even though that was not something I was like, I'm the stuttering comedian. It was just something I talked about because that was my frustration. Now it's like, now when I don't stutter, all I get is eye contact. People look at me like, they're not even sure if it's me. They're like, they're looking at me from like different angles. You know what I mean? They're like, is that you? What? So it's it's weird. And my relationship to it, I get it that this podcast has been spent, such a large part of it has been spent talking about it, because for so long it was such a big part of my life. But I had almost a resentment-filled or tumultuous relationship with it, because like I would, I would talk about it on stage because that was my only thing.
Of course.
And that was the only thing. That was my only thing that I wanted to complain about. That's all that we're supposed to be doing, is talking about our frustrations. And then later, when I got better, people were like, "Well, what the fuck? Did you just use that to?" And it's like, no, you don't. You have no idea how long I've been at this fucking thing. You know what I mean? And you have no idea how long how much I don't want to talk about it. I want to address it so you feel better, and then I want to talk about other shit like a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Did anyone go? Oh, because Benny Feldman with Tourette's, some people accuse him of faking it.
Yeah,
and it's a wild. It's
all the time.
Wild, but these are the dumbest people in the world who say that.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, it's all the time, and it's just like I said. Like I did a TED talk last year, and I talked about how I was initially mocked for stuttering, and then later called a liar because I succeeded despite having it. You know, it's just crazy. It's just, it's this people. It further proves the point and puts a punctuation on the idea that people are never happy, or they're never going to be. They're never going to be happy with something that has to do with you, and they want to put you into a box, and then when you break out of it, then they want to put you in a different one. It's like they want you to succeed, but only if it's on their terms.
Yeah.
Let's go on to our next segment.
This has got to stop.
This has got to stop. Duva, this has got to stop.
Yeah. I think we got to figure out when someone's waiting in line and they're waiting for people, and they're like, "Oh, you can go ahead of me," like, and then then their person still doesn't show up, and so then they're just they're like letting people go. Like they now work there. They're like, oh, you go ahead. They're almost like
new gatekeeper.
Yeah,
new
you're the
gate.
new.
Also,
yeah.
and also sometimes they're waiting, but they don't tell you for too long. So you're kind of standing there and you're giving them eyes. You're giving them the eyes like I'm looking for permission to go past you because there's some space.
Yeah.
And they're kind of talking to the other person they're with. They're not paying attention. They're not doing a good job of being like, go around me sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, then if you sometimes you just go and they're like, oh, like, but you gave such a big space that we all thought that, so you have to be, if you're doing that, you have to be better at communicating.
And what a power role. Your friend's late, so you're put into this position of power to be like, you get to decide who goes ahead now.
Wait outside
Yeah.
the restaurant or wherever you are. Yeah,
I've done it before. I have been that person, and you feel guilt, but also this weird sense of like, I get to, you guys can go ahead.
Am I supposed to say thank you? Thank you so much. You can't go.
Yeah.
But you've granted this for me. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. This has got to stop. You got one?
Okay, so this is very specific. This got to stop. There's two people on my street, and they both talk to my dog who doesn't like being talked to. And it's clear. It's clear he doesn't like it. But he doesn't like it. And they do it almost every day. And he starts barking, and I have to be like, oh, no, and like pull him across the street. And it's gotten to a point where I'm like I'm not interacting with them either. And they're just like, oh, there you are. You don't like it when I talk to you. And he starts barking. And I'm like, stop fucking getting this dog riled, because then other dogs start barking in the neighborhood. I'm like, and it's the people. It's the people. Because you're like, he wouldn't bark at you if you weren't yelling at him. But it's like, and I know that it's his issue, but it would be the same thing as if you went up to a crazy person on the street and you were like, hi, why don't you smile for me? And then they started yelling. They're like, oh, you don't like it when, like,
You need to like with the leash, like, whoa, it's slipping.
No,
like, you got to make them understand.
But there's a thing where you're like, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't know what to do other than
Do
be
you
like,
think
shut the fuck? I crossed the
they're
street.
doing it passively aggressively to be like, you need to get your dog to stop barking? They're going to be like, still, like, do you think because clearly they're aware?
No, they're loud.
No.
Too loud people. They're louder than my dog. They're too loud people. One of them works for the parks department and is always cleaning like by the park there. And they're both loud.
No.
They're both loud people that you can hear. So I avoid them in general. If I see that they're out there, I go the other direction.
Two other
but
dogs.
Sometimes you can't. You happen upon them. And I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Stop talking to my dog. Like, it doesn't like it. And like, you can, and also I've said to them, we've said, you can talk to the other one. The other one likes it. He's fine with it. He won't bark. He blah, blah, blah. But this one doesn't like it. Don't talk to him,
It's I haven't even met these people, and I know them.
Yeah.
They I don't know that it's passive aggressive intentionally. But I think that subconsciously
People think they can be dog whisperers.
Yeah.
Too, is the other thing that I've like, it drives me nuts too, is like people think you'll be like, oh, he doesn't blah, blah, blah. And they'll be like, I'm great with dogs. And you're like, sure. But like, also, who cares? I don't want to have to like do this for you. Like, this isn't about you. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's always about them. That's the thing. That's the thing. Dogs. People like it to be about them, and dogs validate that through anyway. Period.
for sure. So, anyways, just gotta stop talking to my dog.
This got to stop. Enough with this. Not weed, but it is weed. Or they say it's weed. I basically was at an event, a comedy event, Moon Tower, and there was a company, and they said, we're going to send you a whole box of edibles for free. Just put in your address. And I was like, amazing, great, finally. And then you get a box, and it's like, this is Delta 9. It's like, instead of THC, it's THN. It makes you feel blah, blah, blah. It's not. Enough with
not
this.
weed.
And I go to these states, so I'm like, is weed, they have a weed store there. And I go, great, a weed store. And it's all Delta 8 or Delta 9, it's just not weed.
Yeah.
If you have to break down all the ways this will make you high, I don't need to know if it's weed. So they've been doing this in New York before it was legalized. They would have the trucks, and it sold you weed lollipops, but it was this shit. It's not weed. Stop pretending it's weed. You're lying. You're building a whole store. But speaking of, they were selling CBD for dogs.
Fuck
Just
off.
out of control.
Yeah.
I just want weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to modify. It's a proven model. Weed's undefeated. It's been doing a great job for years.
And we have 2 boxes of and I brought it here
it's
for
right
no one to
there?
eat. It's a bunch of TH9, TH Delta 9. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah. Did you try it though?
We did, and I felt absolutely nothing.
Okay.
I know what being high is. You can't trick me with marketing into that I'm high.
Yeah.
It's just you gave me gummy bears. You gave me a box of fucking shitty gummy bears.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Moon Tower. Let's go on to our next one.
You better count your blessings.
You better count your blessing. Real quick, I meant to say, send us your This Has Gotta Stops.
Yeah.
The email is, oh my God, The Downside WGS with Gianmarco Soresi. The Downside WGS at gmail.com. Send us your This Has Gotta Stops. We'll say them on the show, and you'll get even bonus if you're a Patreon member. We'll say yours first. Patreon.com/downside. Russell, do you have a blessing?
Yeah, dog centric today. Recently, well, not recently, but in the last few months, got a second dog, and we did a long process of putting the dogs like where they're both comfortable. They're both pit bulls, so things go wrong, things could go real wrong. So it took a long time.
Aren't you not supposed to say that as a pit bull owner? I think that's the whole thing. Is breaking down that myth.
Oh, pit bulls are very. But
You weren't here when Kyle Kinane was here. He called them baby eaters.
Okay, shut up. But
Things go really wrong.
no, listen. They're a beautiful. They're the sweetest. I love pit bulls. That's all I'll ever have now going forward. They're so sweet. They love you. They sit on you. They just want to be held. They're like these babies, but they're strong. Like, there's no getting around that. They're strong.
Yeah.
So
Just like you, Russ.
Yeah, and so one of them, the one that barks, is the older one. So we've had him a long time. The new one doesn't bark at people, but we're putting them together, and you don't know, and you want to feel comfortable. So we do all the steps to make sure it's okay. One's tethered for a while, blah blah. They're on leashes, blah blah. So, anyways, we ripped off the Band-Aid this last week, and they're out. They're together. They are so happy. They're playing all the time, and it's rough. It's a rough playing. A lot of dog owners I'd see, they'd be like, we can't let our dogs play with that dog.
Yeah.
But they play at the same level, which is exciting. And it's very clearly play. They're doing it. They're resting. They're doing it. They're having fun. Their tails are wagging.
Are they knocking shit over in the house?
No. But like they're wrestling around, and like they're like their mouths are open and around each other's faces, and but it's all like no one's clamping down, no one, and it's like I feel totally great about it. Like I was nervous when it first happened. I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was like, we're ripping off this band. Maybe one of them's gonna get real hurt. You don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah.
But they're loving it, and I'm so thankful for it. They're sleeping on each other. They're cuddling.
If they turned on you and it was you versus them, battle to the end, who's gonna win?
They would never turn on me. I know that they wouldn't.
But just if they did,
I think they would win.
Side effects.
I mean, truly, they're both 60-pound pit bulls, and especially if they double teamed me, there'd be no way out. I mean, I can pull them both around. I've taken them both on walks together now, by myself, not long ones, but like short ones.
What if one ran this way, one ran that way? You split in half.
Yeah, so stretchy.
I told Nicole can't do it. She tried to do it the other day, and it was too hard for her.
Yeah.
But like I was like, I can do it. I'm strong enough to do it.
Do you think you have like really strong like arms from it?
Not
Because they're pulling.
they are pulling, but you have the right leash and harness and thing.
Yeah.
It's all. But so I'm thankful that they love each other. They're cuddle. They're sweet.
That's great.
I'm excited that it was so much work to keep them separate and blah blah blah. So now it's a huge weight off the shoulders.
My blessing. So my sister, she does fashion stuff, but she's been helping me. I've been really, I told you, getting into getting like old theater shirts.
Yeah.
I'm like really into this concept of getting like high school theater production. She's been going on Etsy. And the problem with vintage is, it always costs so much money. And you're like, really? This cost $5 when the school sold it. But she got me one of my favorite shows, Little Shop of Horrors. She got me this vintage with a nice green Little Shop of Horrors.
From where?
Let's see. It's fun to see. By the way, if you ever come to my shows, wear your fucking old high school theater shirts. 1990 Little Shop of Horrors.
Good condition.
Yeah, it's in really good condition, and it cost it.
And it doesn't say where.
No, it doesn't. This one, I have a Guys and Dolls one that she got me, but I really just like it. I don't know why. Something about it. It fills some nostalgia hole in me. This is St. John's College drama production of Guys and Dolls. So if you have theater shirts and you don't want them and they're large, fucking give them to me or wear them to a show. I think that would be fun. Drew, what's your blessing?
Man, those are both such good blessings, you guys. Dogs in theater. This is my blessing. I have a floor rug at home and I stretch on it. I'm in the top. Like I'm at the top. Like this is a great floor rug. This is a great stretching rug right here. I'm big into stretching right now. I think it's so good for you. So
Yeah.
at night after shows, I'll grab like I'll get some tea. I'll try to get into as much of the splits as I can. I'll get my laptop and I'll just write. I've got my tea. Floor rugs.
You're writing in splits.
Yeah. Yeah, it's silly. It's very theater kid of me, actually.
I used to do that back.
Yeah.
I would watch a whole TV show.
Yeah.
Never got the split.
Nah, it's. I mean, it's hard. Like it's a hard thing. I mean, I'm
You
not.
think you're
I'm
gonna
not-
get there?
I'm pretty close. I mean, if you give me like 10, 15 minutes, I can pretty much get there.
If you can like dead drop in it.
No,
into
no,
the
I can't
middle
do
of the
that.
Show, that'd be. It'd be amazing. Just for no reason at all. You just do it. Something doesn't work. Split.
It's always so cool when you can just go whoa, like when you see people go whoa. It's I don't know what kind of what are these what are these adductors that you have to the strength to be able to pop back up. Oh, that's a great goal though. I should try to aim for that.
I just don't know how your balls don't get just crushed.
Yeah, but
You
that's
gotta do a
the
track, you gotta
payoff
be
though.
tucking.
That's the payoff though for the it's the bird trick. The bird dies, but like it's not a bird in the cage anymore.
For our patrons, we like to flash their names up on the screen right now. Do you know a street joke? Any street jokes you like? You know what I would say?
I don't know any good street
All right,
jokes.
I'm gonna
All I
say
know
one
are
out of
just
this
jokes.
book.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's good. Sometimes they're horribly offensive, but let's see.
Here, let me read one.
Oh yeah, okay. Let me just make sure I didn't do it this one.
These are offensive? They're intentionally offensive?
No, they're just like.
No,
street
this
jokes.
is just
Some
street
of them,
jokes.
Some of them are old.
Have
and
you
some
ever
of
heard
them
this
are-
guy? His name's Jackie Martling. He's like, he does stand-up comedy, but it's just he goes on stage and he does street jokes for like an hour. And I kind of like it.
I like street jokes.
Yeah, street jokes can be a lot of fun. Okay, I just want to make
Jake
sure.
Johansson has great street jokes. I mean, he's got just great jokes, but they're just, you can tell them.
All right, tell this one. Act it out. That one. I'm not sure what it is, but I highlighted it a long time ago.
Okay. A priest and a rabbi are walking down the street together, and they both want a drink, but they have no money on them. The priest says, "I've got an idea how to get us some free drinks." He walks into a crowded bar alone, and the rabbi stands at the door and watches. The priest orders a drink, downs it, and then the bartender gives him his tab. The priest says, "But my son, I've already paid for the drink." The bartender says, "I'm terribly sorry, Father, but it's really busy in here, and I must have forgotten." The rabbi walks in and orders a drink. After he downs it, the bartender gives him the tab, and the rabbi says, "Son, I paid you when I ordered the drink." The bartender says, "I'm terribly sorry, sir. I don't know what's wrong with me. The second time that's happened to me tonight." The rabbi says, "That's okay, son. No offense taken. Now just give me the change for the 50 I gave."
Russell Daniels.
This is
Oh, it
not
doesn't
my
even
joke.
say that. You just added that on your own. You gave it an anti-Semitic twist. I like. You know what? I think that's the way the segment should go. I give you a joke. Where
Oh, now I know what you'll do every time. You know?
No, it won't always be anti-Semitic. Sometimes it'll be racist. Sometimes it'll be sexist. Where can people find you, Drew?
Sure, it's at the Drew Lynch on all social media, and then I have my own podcast that I would love to have you guys on sometime.
I'd love that.
It's called Did I Stutter? And we do that every Tuesday.
Russell, where can people find you?
At Russell J. Daniels on Instagram, or come see Titanic the musical at the Daryl Roth Theater.
You're in Titanic the
Broadway.
musical?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt your plug. That's so cool, though.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Doing 8 shows a week right now,
so
baby.
You've heard of Titanic?
The ship?
The hit.
Yeah.
It's
But-
not Titanic the musical.
Oh,
Titanic.
Yeah,
Titanic.
no,
Oh.
I knew. That's why I said like I had a
see.
feeling because Titanic the musical is a very respected show.
Boring.
And
Boring and closed, but not even in a year. Our show's been running for a year off Broadway. It's a fun parody, and it's all Celine Dion music.
oh, that's awesome.
Titanic.
Oh,
Celine
that's
Dion's the narrator,
Oh, that's so cool.
not the real Celine Dion.
and for me, find me everywhere at Gianmarco Soresi. And again, join that Patreon, patreon.com/downside. Whether it's Titanic or Titanic, all shows will close.
Yeah.
As will our lives. This is The Downside.
1, 2, 3. You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.